Hey guys, I'm Dav, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here with Big Bird, Sarthrael the Everwatcher, and the Forces of Chaos going to be fighting up against the Dowie, hence the Hell Cannons here. So I wanted to go ahead and give Final Transmutation a shot versus, the high magic resistance of the Dowie. So we've got that, and only that. Unfortunately, Sarthrael can't take Arcane Conduit, which is a little bit strange considering he's a Demon of Tzeentch. You would think that he'd have access to plenty of Winds of Magic, but unfortunately no Arcane Conduit for him, so we'll probably only get one Overcast Final Transmutation and maybe one regular Final Transmutation. It's hard to say. It is quite expensive on the Winds of Magic, which is why I think it's relatively balanced. It's not as overpowered as it was in the late patches of Total War Warhammer 1, but it is still very powerful right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the army compositions. I've got 3 Hell Cannons to help pull apart the Dowie like a nice cinnamon roll. We've got 4 units of Chaos Marauders with great weapons, and 2 units of Chosen with great weapons for that nice heavy hitting power. We've also got 2 units of Marauder Horsemen, one of whom has been blasted to bits by cannons, and a third over on the far side, currently pitching some axes into these Longbeards here. And that's about it for my opponent. He's got a line of Longbeards here, Longbeards with great weapons, very cost effective. It looks like a Hammerer on the far side, even more heavy hitting power there. Got 2 Miners with blasting charges, Iron Drakes with Trollhammer torpedoes, 1 Gyrocopter with a Brimstone gun. We've got Ulthar's Raiders, another Ranger with great weapons, cannon, and the Goblobber, as well as Dragonback Slayers for the anti-large. And the Lord will be a Rune Lord, so he's going to have extra magic resistance here. If we go ahead and take a look, the Rune Lord himself, if we can mouse over him, actually has 40% magic resistance. Let's see, I believe, did he actually bring the, so he didn't actually bring the extra magic from the anvil itself. The anvil has an ability where you can get extra magic, but unfortunately it doesn't look like he's brought it. Let's have a look, because I believe it's a map-wide. Yeah, only 25% magic resistance on the rest of these troops here. You can see these hammers are taking a blasting from those Hell Cannons right off the bat. And yeah, the Gyrocopters are going to be opening up shots with the Brimstone guns and the Trollhammer torpedoes. Honestly, though, none of this is going to do a whole lot to Sarthrael with his heavy missile resistance. But so far, we have managed to do quite a bit of damage to these Brimstone guns with the throwing axes. They've charged down into melee as a response, but honestly, they'll probably lose to the Marauder Horsemen in melee. Their combat stats are pretty poor. So meanwhile, these Marauder Horsemen are just kind of harassing these Longbeards with great weapons here, doing some really nice damage before the fighting opens up. They are taking some damage from the Rangers with great weapons there. Nothing insurmountable, though, so we'll just watch some of this overwhelming fire as the Dowie march in here. My opponent is wisely targeting his cannon on my Hell Cannons. You can see a very nice shot in the middle of those hammers, but there is actually this destroyed cannon over here on the far side. And yeah, have taken quite a bit of damage. My opponent's been focusing with his cannons, and because, of course, the Hell Cannons themselves count as large targets, they can be destroyed relatively easily by cannons, but some really nice damage from the Goblobber there also on those Chosen with great weapons. Very nice target. It's one of the best ways to deal with Chosen with great weapons is just with those armor-piercing missile attacks. So just tons of fire still, though, coming in from the 2 operational Hell Cannons. You can see this one is taking fire from that Dowie cannon there. It's probably going to be taken off the line relatively shortly. We're just trying to, honestly, pull my opponent's formation apart. As you guys know, if you've seen a lot of my other games against the Dowie, this is a tactic that I like to use, and it's just, you just spread them out and pull their formation apart, get them out of their comfort zone. You see the Chosen with great weapons going to be coming into these Longbeards here, and that Hell Cannon still just firing away. Rune Lord is coming in on the far side for some support, and the Ulthar's Raiders as well, pitching some really timely axes. And the Marauders will lose out here, but these Chosen are going to start racking up the kills. You can see already 14 kills against pretty high-value Dowie infantry. And yeah, a lot of these guys are now going to get rear charged here by these Marauders with great weapons, who will do some okay damage in a rear charge situation. And my frame rates tank as the Rune Lord comes in with all of the runes popped, Rune of Negation and the Rune of Oath and Steel, to help give that extra armor. Although these troops are armor piercing, it can help a little bit of that damage mitigation. Rune of Wrath and Ruin on those Chaos Marauders to keep them off of those Iron Drakes. Of course, they're very high value targets. Unfortunately, they don't really have anything good to shoot at. Sarthrel, of course, with that missile resistance, is not a great target. Man, these Chosen, though, have taken a ton of damage. You can see now we have dropped that final transmutation, and despite all the magic resistance here, it's going to do a ton of damage to, like, these tattered infantry. Because of the way the damage scaling works, when the units are low health, it does even more damage, it seems like. You can see, though, pretty decent damage on the Rune Lord, about 20% HP damage from that Overcast Final Transmutation, and considering how much magic resistance he has, what is it, like 40%, something like that? Let's see, I know I looked earlier, but let's see here. Yeah, 40% magic resistance, so it's pretty hefty, all things considered, and still did a ton of damage, so just goes to show how powerful Final Transmutation has become. You know, doing that much damage to even a heavy magic resistance Lord there. At this point, though, Dragonback Slayers are unfortunately caught up in these Chosen here, and they're going to have a really bad time against these Chosen with great weapons. Big Bird himself is just kind of cycling in and out. Of course, he has the mass. He doesn't need to stick around here if he doesn't want to. And the regrouped Marauders coming in for a nice rear charge here. Man, absolutely beautiful. For whatever reason, this particular Chaos Waste map is kind of green. I'm not really sure why that is. I guess it's supposed to be like the Nurgle Waste or something, but you can see Big Bird getting in here, stomping around on these various high-value targets back here. Going to be inundating these Trollhammer torpedoes, and you can see the bounce power is pretty heavily in my favor, but the Dawi are resolute people, and despite everything, you know, they're going to sally forth and try and get some stuff done. The Marauder Horsemen have just kind of been back here in the back lines harassing these cannons. We managed to take the cannon crews offline temporarily, but they have got back online. A lot of the Marauders are just continuously routing and regrouping. We have managed to break this pocket of troops here and chase them off, so very nice for us. The Brimstone gun, surprisingly, still alive with a single gyrocopter, so bravely sallying forth to deal with those Marauders with throwing axes, who of course have their own armor-piercing missiles, and it looks like the gyrocopter pilot decides that's a bad idea. At this point, I'm just trying to force my opponent to blob up a little bit here, just to try and get some last shots in with the Hell Cannon. And Sarthrel will do a lot of damage against these unarmored targets. Of course, he is going to take a lot of damage from the Slayers, but yeah, because of his lack of armor piercing, it doesn't really matter too much against things like the Rangers and the Slayers. Of course, the Miners will take less damage, and his attacks are magical, so keep in mind that all the Dawi's, you know, 25% magic resistance will come into play in this situation. But at this point, you know, I figure its balance power is pretty heavily in my favor. It's relatively safe. We've got the Trollhammer torpedoes inundated with the Marauders here, and they are going to be very cost effective in this particular situation. The Ironbreaker, or the Iron Drakes honestly don't have terrible combat stats, but considering they're so few in number, and the Chaos Marauders actually have pretty solid melee attack as well as armor piercing, weapon strength, they are going to be able to take these guys down. It'll just take some time, definitely. But you can see the Rangers and the Miners have taken quite a bit of damage, as have the Dragonback Slayers. At this point, the Rune Lord has managed to escape from his circle beating from those Chosen, but Big Bird likewise going to escape here and get on this Runesmith and just start to show him the ways of magic, since the Runesmith is, you know, keen to try and resist. Just going to try and muck him up here as much as possible. These Marauders, for some reason, the Miners deciding to pull away here, trying to regroup with their forces, but the Slayers are going to be attacking the Marauders, which is great with me, because then I can bring in Big Bird on whoever I want and not have to worry about that anti-large. And the Chosen are able to come in and mop up most of the rest of the infantry here, so very nice kind of cinematic ending here. Tons of blasting charges coming in from those Miners, who still had some on hand. Going to be doing some really nice damage to the Marauders. The Chosen, though, still holding their leadership together despite them taking an absolute beating. They've racked up a ton of kills, too, 107 and climbing. These guys have only got 47, but still, XP chevrons there. The Rune Lord does indeed go down from another kind of final transmutation there. And yeah, it is going to be a victory for Chaos. So, well played to my opponent, Thalassocrat. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Thalassocrat's actually a tournament player, so definitely a pretty decent player, so he played it well, all things considered. I do think this build is going to be pretty tough for the Dawi to deal with. The two Chosen with great weapons, you need to focus them down with your missiles ASAP. Like, he did a pretty good job focusing the one unit with the the Goblobber, but man, these guys can just truck through most of the Dawi infantry, no problem. They really need to use their ranged units to take them down. Marauder Horsemen didn't do the most. One of them was able to pick up 2 chevrons, kind of helping to shut down the cannons and so on. You can see kind of the progression of my opponent's artillery. He was able to work down 1 Hell Cannon, got partway through the second one, but the third one was able to fire for most of the match unimpeded. 102 kills on Big Bird himself with those final transmutations, and just charging around, you know, being a typical troll that he is. For my opponent, the Rune Lord, you know, you definitely, I think, with the prevalence of final transmutation in both this matchup and the Empire matchup, I would say you definitely want to take the magic resistance rune on the Rune Lord. It gives all of your troops map-wide extra magic resistance, so we'll go take a look at that in just a minute here. But 36 kills on the cannon, 2 XP chevrons, you know, help take down the Hell Cannons. Very nice play there. The Iron Drakes and the Gyrocopters both didn't have the greatest targets because I didn't have much large. My large was only, you know, Big Bird and the Marauder Horsemen. The Marauder Horsemen were kept far away from the Trollhammer torpedoes and did some nice damage to the Gyrocopters. Rangers with Grey Weapons could have been used, and I think they did fire a little bit into the Chosen there, but a lot of their ammo was spent on the Chaos Marauders as well, which is not the best, but, you know, it's a tough situation. And, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look here at the Rune Lord, and we can kind of talk about some different situations where he's particularly useful. Not multiplayer battle. Let's go ahead and get into the custom battle here. So, for the Dwarfs, if we have a look at the Rune Lord here, so if you bring him on his Anvil of Doom, it gives him some extra resistances, you know, more health and so on. So let's go ahead and take a look. Puts him up to 40% magic resistance, but you actually have to select this item manually. It doesn't come preloaded on the Anvil, which is something not a lot of people remember, but I definitely recommend that when you take the Anvil, you want to grab this to give him that extra map-wide magic resistance. Although we have the baseline 25% magic resistance here, like these Dwarf Warriors, so that plus 15% will put them all up to 40%, and it'll put the Rune Lord himself up to, what, 55%? So it just helps you give you that extra magic resistance against, you know, final transmutation shenanigans, which I do think you'll see a lot from the Empire and from Chaos in that particular matchup. So, just a bit of a PSA for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming with more Total War Warhammer 2 content every single day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.